So if it normally takes 4 hours to cook a turkey at 325 degrees, then if I cook it at 7800 degrees, it should only take 10 minutes. Perfect. I can do that.
Greetings.
You're about a month late for spooky season, lady, but nice costume.
That is not why I am here. I am Countess Olivia Phantasm, and it is to my understanding that there is a feast to be held at this venue.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Delta, set another place at the table. We've got a guest. Food's not ready yet. Can I get you something to drink? Wine?
Something fresher.
Water?
Fresher. I require blood of the innocent.
Wait, are you a vampire? Dave! Emergency meeting!
What's up?
This lady just showed up for dinner, but she's a vampire.
No problem. I'll just grab a stray villager while I'm in town.
Hey, when did you become so ruthless?
I'm a dungeon master. It's in my blood.
Did someone say blood?
Heh, good luck getting anything out of him. He doesn't even have a neck to bite.
But you do.
Uh-oh.
Artisan's tools don't get much love in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which is a shame in my opinion. These items just don't see much use by players or DMs in most games. In particular, I feel that cook's utensils should have a greater impact on gameplay. I've always enjoyed cooking in video games that included that activity and took advantage of the in-game benefits that cooked meals provided. Therefore, I wanted to make a video that expanded upon this very limited aspect of the rules in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and turn it into something adventurers crave. Forget trail rations, it's time to grab your frying pan and fire up the stove, because today we'll be delving into the culinary art of fantasy cooking. The cooking recipes in this video are organized by fantasy race and divided into 3 categories: simple, intermediate, and complex. Each recipe requires a primary ingredient harvested from a monster or its lair, and a secondary ingredient gathered from a particular environment, with intermediate and complex recipes adding a third processed ingredient. A full meal from one of these recipes can feed 4 individuals. Failing the skill check to harvest ingredients from a monster reduces this amount by half, while failing the skill check to process the third ingredient, if any, reduces it by half again. If a check is required to cook the dish, a failure here reduces the yield by half as well, unless this is the third failed check when making the dish, in which case it is completely ruined. Harvesting ingredients from a monster requires a skill check based on the monster type, with the difficulty class based on the complexity of the recipe. Simple recipes use monsters with a challenge rating of 1 or lower, and have a harvesting difficulty class of 5. Monsters with a CR of 2 to 4 are used in intermediate recipes, with a harvesting DC of 10. Complex recipes use monsters with a CR of 5, 6, or even higher, with a DC to harvest of 15. Secondary ingredients are generally tied to a certain environment, but may be found elsewhere at the DM's discretion. Gathering such ingredients requires a DC 10 nature or survival check while resting in or traveling through that environment. Each individual searching for the ingredient can make 1 check per day, with a success providing enough for 1 recipe. Failure on this gathering check does not affect the yield of a recipe, but the recipe cannot be started until the ingredient has been acquired. Cooking times for a meal vary by recipe complexity. Simple dishes can be prepared in under an hour or during a short rest, while intermediate and complex meals require a long rest or 8 hours of downtime. Note that this includes the time required to process ingredients. While in reality, some of these processes may take longer than an 8-hour period, this is a fantasy game rather than a reality simulator. Therefore, these times have been adjusted to the 8-hour time frame for the sake of simplicity. Processing ingredients and cooking the meal requires cook's utensils from the artisan's tool list and a suitable place to cook. A stove or campfire is sufficient for a simple recipe, but an intermediate recipe needs an oven, while a complex one requires a fully stocked kitchen. Processed ingredients require a successful DC 10 check with the cook's utensils, but the ability used varies by ingredient. For those who are not proficient with these implements, training with cook's utensils can be acquired from a master chef or culinary institute with your DM's approval. Gaining proficiency with these tools, as well as learning the various dishes listed in this video or those common to your campaign world, require 1 week of downtime and payment of 100 gold pieces for this service. Properly cooking a simple recipe is automatically successful for anyone proficient with cook's utensils, but requires a DC 5 intelligence check by those who are not proficient in order to successfully follow the recipe. Intermediate recipes require a DC 10 intelligence check with the tools, while complex recipes will need a successful DC 15 intelligence check when using the utensils. While the primary ingredient of a recipe almost always needs to be harvested from the monster in question, secondary and processed ingredients can be purchased in urban areas with the DM's approval, negating the need for gathering and processing checks. Additional ingredients can be purchased for 1 silver piece for simple recipes, 5 silver pieces for intermediate recipes, and 2 gold pieces for complex recipes. Each of the meals listed in the next section provides 1 or more benefits to those who consume them, the most common being the well-fed bonus. After eating a meal that provides this bonus, usually as part of a short or long rest, the character gains temporary hit points equal to their level that last up to 24 hours. Intermediate dishes also provide advantage on checks and saves for a particular ability, while complex meals can grant spell-like features for a time. While human society will form settlements in nearly any hospitable location, most tend toward waterways and coastlines to aid in travel, trade, and resource gathering. This has led to a number of human fishing villages and a wide range of recipes involving aquatic beasts. Shark kelp stew is a simple dish that only requires reef shark and ocean kelp. A staple of coastal fishers for enduring harsh weather while at sea, it grants the well-fed bonus to anyone who eats it. Coconut calamari, an intermediate dish, can be made from chul meat, coconut milk, and fresh batter. In addition to the well-fed bonus, the chul's psychic ties to their former aboleth masters opens the mind, granting advantage on all intelligence-based checks and saves for the next 24 hours. A complex dish of coastal humans, Sea King's Feast requires essence from a slain water elemental, fish roe, and cracked oysters. The elemental nature of the meal provides the well-fed bonus and grants the consumer the benefits of the water-breathing and water-walk spells. The mountain-dwelling dwarves are hardy individuals with hardy cuisine to help endure their rugged homes. Many a dwarven meal draws strength from the mountains and their steadfast denizens. The simplest meal to infuse one with the strength of the dwarves is roasted goat. Consisting of giant goat meat and rosemary, this filling dish grants the well-fed bonus to those who partake of it. Dwarves often deal with pests from the Underdark in their communities, sometimes adding them to their meals. One intermediate dish, crispy cave critter, uses fresh grick, scallions, and ground rock salt. This fried treat grants the well-fed bonus and advantage on all constitution checks and saves for the next 24 hours. One final complex meal made by the dwarves is earthen pot roast. Combining rocky zorn flesh with wild carrots and vinegar as a tenderizer, this meal provides the well-fed bonus in addition to giving immunity to petrification and granting the user a burrow speed of 20 feet. Elves are one with the forests of the world, only taking what they need and protecting nature as a whole. Their cuisine comes from this abundance, and sometimes through the protection of these woodlands from those who would despoil it. Sautéed elk is a simple meal used by the elves, needing only elk meat and roasted pine nuts in its making. Such a savory dish will provide the well-fed bonus to those who partake. An intermediate recipe of the forest folk is sweet and spicy ettercap. A slain ettercap, ginger, and thick maple syrup are the necessary ingredients for it, granting the well-fed bonus along with advantage on all dexterity checks and saves for 24 hours. Even unnatural horrors can be put to good use by the elves. Shambling salad, a complex elven recipe, combines the leaves of a shambling mound, elderberries, and olive oil dressing into a mix that yields the well-fed bonus and an immunity to lightning, along with a single use of the plant growth spell all over the next 24 hours. Gnomes have a strong affinity toward burrowing animals and avoid harming them if at all possible. However, they often find themselves at odds with aerial predators, hunting them to defend their subterranean allies. A simple yet tasty dish made by gnomes is giant owl omelets. Stolen eggs from giant owl nests form the basis of this meal with a dash of garlic to taste. Eating these omelets grants the well-fed bonus along with a full stomach. Manticore meatloaf is an intermediate dish that requires a slain manticore, wild barley, and cheese curds. The magic of this meal provides the well-fed bonus and advantage on wisdom checks and saves for 24 hours after eating. The most complex recipe of the gnomes is their self-named gnomish continental breakfast. This meal consists of chimera meat, sliced tomatoes, and freshly prepared yogurt. Eating this breakfast gives the well-fed bonus and one additional attack when using the attack action in combat for the next 24 hours. Halflings are fond of low rolling hills and open plains, thus drawing their cuisine from the plants and animals found in these sprawling regions. Though traditional in many ways, their most famous foods include a creative touch. Pan-fried axbeak is a simple meal of halfling origin. Fresh axbeak and wild onions are cooked together to make this succulent dish. Eating it provides hungry adventurers with a well-fed bonus. An unusual item in halfling cuisine, dungeon jam is an intermediate dish that is only made when strange oozes find their way into halfling cellars and storerooms. Made from ochre jelly remains, mixed berries, and fresh jam, this sweet treat grants the well-fed bonus along with advantage on wisdom saves and checks for 24 hours. On rare occasions, a halfling community will band together to take down roving mammoths that threaten to trample their village. The meat from these great beasts are then used in a complex recipe called mammoth stuffing, which also consists of sage and hot broth. This filling meal provides the well-fed bonus as well as a +2 bonus to constitution for the next 24 hours. Orcs are a savage race that draw strength from the challenges and hardships they face in the barren lands they call home. The vicious beasts that share this territory often find themselves on the orcs' banquet tables. A simple orcish meal is boar kebabs, consisting only of boar meat and diced cactus. Such a meal provides the eater with a well-fed bonus, and perhaps a prickly tongue. Never one to back down from a challenge, orc warbands may face off against a rhinoceros should it threaten their tribe. These animals are used in an intermediate orc recipe called rhino jerky, a rugged trail mix made of rhinoceros meat, dried sweet potato slices, and rolled oats. This meal provides advantage on strength checks and saves in addition to the well-fed bonus. The greatest honor visitors of an orc camp can receive is joining in a meal of victory stew. This complex orc food is made of bullet meat, oregano, and beef stock. Such a feast offers the well-fed bonus to participants as well as a movement speed increase of 10 feet and 3 uses of the jump spell over the next 24 hours. As underground dwellers, goblins must deal with monstrous pests on a daily basis. It's no wonder that such creatures make their way into the goblins' meals. Such subterranean delicacies are generally an acquired taste for other races. Giant centipedes are a common nuisance in goblin warrens and have become part of one of their simple recipes. Centipede stuffed mushrooms are made of centipede meat shoved into common edible mushrooms. This food grants the well-fed bonus to those willing to give it a try. Onkeg dumplings are an intermediate goblin recipe consisting of onkeg meat, white lichen, and fresh dough. This meal provides the well-fed bonus along with advantage on dexterity saves and checks for the next 24 hours. A complex and confusing recipe of goblin origin, mystery meat requires a dead umberhulk, cave nettle, and a thick gravy in its creation. Those with the stomach for such a meal receive the well-fed bonus as well as a special gaze attack that is usable 3 times over the next 24 hours. The target of this attack must make a DC 13 charisma save. On a failure, they cannot take a reaction until the beginning of their next turn and can only take an action, bonus action, or move on that turn. The fiery tieflings are quite at home in hot, arid environments. Their cuisine mirrors these dry lands and the few creatures who dwell here, making for some spicy meals. Crocodiles can be a hazard in the few oases found in desert regions. Adventurous tieflings have added such beasts to their simple golden croc ribs recipe. Made of crocodile ribs and mustard seed, this tough food grants the well-fed bonus to any who eat it. A more exotic treat, Hellish Tarts is an intermediate recipe utilizing hellhound meat, dates, and flatbread. This food provides the well-fed bonus as well as advantage on charisma-based checks and saves for 24 hours. Buttery Fire Snake is a famous complex tiefling meal. Consisting of salamander meat, chili peppers, and a rich butter, it gives a well-fed bonus in addition to fire immunity and 3 uses of the Firebolt spell over the next 24 hours. Many dragonborn hail from the murky swamps and deep jungles of the world. These reptilian humanoids may find themselves at odds with the beasts that call these lands home, and have added more than a few to their meals. Constrictor snakes are a menace to dragonborn settlements. Dealing with such threats not only protects the dragonborn tribe, but also puts food on the table. Blackened boa is a simple recipe made of these slithering reptiles combined with crushed black pepper. It grants adventurers the well-fed bonus when eaten. Another reptilian horror is the basilisk. When tribes succeed in defeating such beasts, their meat is used in an intermediate recipe known as glazed basilisk. It also includes cinnamon bark and a honey glaze. This meal gives the well-fed bonus and advantage on constitution saves and checks for 24 hours. Dragonborn who venture out of their swamps and jungles may face herds of roving dinosaurs in neighboring lands, including the Triceratops. Such deadly armored beasts have made their way into Dragonborn cooking as Tricera chops, made of meat from these creatures along with acai berries and cracked walnuts. The magic of such cuisine provides a well-fed bonus and a +1 bonus to armor class, in addition to 1 use of the shield spell over the next 24 hours. Adding specialty cooking to your campaign can be as simple as introducing your players to a handful of these recipes during an adventure. Here are a few examples to get you and your party started with some fine fantasy meals. When the fishing industry of a coastal town is threatened by a school of reef sharks, the townsfolk seek the aid of the PCs in dealing with this aquatic menace. The shark meat gathered from the beasts is cooked in the shark kelp stew to feed the hungry townsfolk. Each party member is also provided with a bowl of the stew after their adventure, along with its recipe. Prior to an important diplomatic meeting, the party meets a tiefling chef who shares with them the secret of hellish tarts. This charismatic treat could aid the PCs in their negotiations, but finding a hellhound for the recipe could be problematic. Fortunately, the tiefling knows just where to look. The PC's recent adventures in the Barrens have earned them the respect of a local orc tribe. The chieftain has offered to make them honorary members of the tribe if they can fulfill one more task: hunt down and kill a bullet. Returning with the beast's carcass will earn them a place in the tribe and a hearty bowl of victory stew. That does it for this episode. The next time your players go to mark another trail ration off their character sheet, perhaps you can interest them in something tastier. Until then, I'm David Watches.
And I'm Nepal Mandia.
And thanks for watching. Special thanks to my longtime friend Bill Batchelor for creating the logo for this channel, and to Dylan Smith for the character art used in this and other videos. I couldn't have done it without them. I'd also like to thank Valerie Vampyr for her role as Countess Olivia Phantasm in this episode. If you'd like to see more of Valerie, you can find a link to her page in the description below.
For more D&D tips, check out these hot videos.